This is a book called Guru. I believe it's from Holland. And when I got this in the mail, I saw, this is an image that I did, and I could not even look at this. I went straight to this picture because this is our Jesus that we used to have hanging in our living room throughout my childhood, and I was really, I don't know, I was just, it touched me that these two pictures are here together in this book. And I don't know what the book is about, but it was, I don't know, it just made me feel, you know, that I was glad that I continued to do this work.
That's good. So Laura, we've been looking at some of your artwork and talking about the different themes that you've explored over the years, and I think one type of imagery that people most readily recognize you for is your religious artwork, your religious representations. So tell us, why paint religious art?
Well, I grew up going to church with my family, and you know, we went a lot. We went to morning service, church on Monday, church on Wednesday. So, you know, I was a young person and I was not always interested in listening to the pastor. And I would look at my Bible, at my children's Bible, and it was filled with pictures. Lots of pictures. There were no pictures on our church walls because, you know, they didn't believe in showing images of biblical people in the church. But then again, we did have, you know, books. We had the Bible, and I had this children's book in my house, which, you know, not only was it racially biased, but it was actually like overtly racist, I think. Yes. Even though I didn't really realize that then, but, you know, you can see that the black people are actually represented as, you know, they look kind of ape-like, you know, and it's not cool. So, you know, it was why do I paint religious art? Well, because I also like to paint stories. I like to tell stories, and the Bible is full of stories. So, one day when I was walking in my neighborhood, I guess I was about 18 or so, in Bed-Stuy, I saw this book in the window of a store, Ethiopian Magic Scrolls, and it just captivated me, this picture, you know, it's like it just shone on this very busy street. And so I bought this book, and I didn't really do art at the time. I was into taking photographs, but I looked at it and I said, you know, I think I could do this because it's like outlined with black lines. I figured, you know, it's kind of like a comic book kind of thing. I could do this. So I, you know, looked through the book and I started to do my own angels and the different stories, and I just kept doing it. And so I guess practice makes perfect, you know, and God-given talents as well. Right. I definitely appreciate my God-given talents.
That's right. And what about the images in the book did you find kind of most impressive? Made an impression on you?
You know, I think it's the eyes, actually. The eyes, you know, they just kind of draw you in. And you know, these angels in particular, this is called 9 angels, and they're just looking at you from all angles, you know, and you just feel very calm, you know, just, you know, it's a very peaceful kind of imagery, I think, and very simple. It's not, you know, there's not a whole lot going on, and, you know, it's easy to understand as well. So it was just very simple and colorful, and honestly, I can remember the day like it was yesterday. It was such a beautiful day, and it was like the sun was shining. I was walking down the street with my friend, and I turned my head and I saw this book. I was like, wow, what's that? You know, so it definitely made an impression.
Well, other things must have made an impression on you as well, because you not only paint religious art, but there are other themes that you explore. I've seen your work where you've done a lot of portraits, or, you know, you tell stories. In your work, and women's stories in particular. So what other influences could you point to?
I suppose my family in general, you know, my mother and my sisters. I grew up with 7 sisters, so there were a lot of women in the house. So that was definitely an influence. And, you know, growing up in Bed-Stuy, a very Caribbean neighborhood, and my family from Antigua, you know, you know, I never really thought of myself as American at all, even though I was born in Brooklyn, you know, but it's just, you know, Caribbean food, Caribbean culture, and then also with the church aspect of it too, you know, because my family was very religious. So, just everything all together. You know, and I also like to go out and to look at people, to go to see art exhibits and things like this. But there's just, you know, people, you know, just like people walking in the street or sitting and, you know, not really doing anything. I just like shapes and just, you know, I just like to paint.
Yeah, yeah. And your work is, you know, it's very colorful and it's vibrant.
Caribbean,
is that where the Caribbean
again, for sure. You know, a lot of people, you know, they say, "Oh, are you Haitian?" Because the artwork is so colorful like that, which is great because, you know, Haitian art is beautiful as far as I'm concerned. You know, by and large. So, you know, I think it's just the color that we have in us.
Yeah. And can you speak a little bit about you know, how your work has developed over the years? You know, you spoke about this important book that kind of got you started, right? Being a painter, in fact, when you originally started with photography, right? And you know, you've explored different themes. How do you kind of characterize the development of your work? How would you describe it?
Well, you know, like I said, I started painting basically images from the King James Version of the Bible, and then I also had the secular art, which is just, you know, people. And then
it's kind of a trick question, anyway.
Yeah, it's kind of a difficult question. How did the work evolve? Well, I wouldn't say that the work has not evolved, but then on the other hand, you know, I basically have gotten better at painting, I think. You know, my hand has gotten better, and then also, besides painting images of from the Bible, I also have started to do other sacred traditions. You know, Yoruban goddesses and Muhammad. I painted a picture of Muhammad and just different things because personally, I respect many different religions. I feel that people should be able to worship God in the way that they choose and the way that feels good to them and feels comfortable to them. And what it is, it's faith. So I respect people's faith, and you know, the stories again, the stories and all of these traditions. You know, everybody's got these fantastic stories with these images that just, you know, make you want to put it down on the canvas. You know, so that is a way that my work has evolved. You know, just in terms of the subjects that I'm painting now. And then also with this book, with this children's book, which is something that I've wanted to do for, you know, for ages. So being able to do that, it was very, very good.
Yeah, I have to say that when I look at many of not only the religious work that you've done, but the, you know, kind of everyday life, scenes in everyday life for men and women in particular, and families and kids, I see very important social justice themes being addressed in the work. And, you know, I know you have, you know, very strong beliefs about, you know, democratic values and fairness and, you know, women's issues in particular. And, you know, I'm impressed that you know, you're just starting a new project with an organization that is going to help people, people in Haiti, parishioners in a particular area in Haiti see themselves in the artwork, in their religious artwork. So,
well,
can you speak a little bit on
that? You know, as I was saying to you earlier, I've been doing this for quite a while now, so it's, you know, even my kids are like, oh, you know, this is nothing special or whatever, you know, it's like we've seen this, you know, this you know, biblical people as dark-skinned people, you know, it's not really anything new, but, you know, it is a thing in a lot of countries where the images are, you know, they don't reflect the people themselves, and you know, why should that be? You know, especially in 2013, you know, because like I said before, these people are faithful and they believe, you know, they believe in Christianity and in God, and you know, there's really no reason why the images of Jesus in their 14 stations shouldn't look more like them, because, you know, why not? Why do you think it's important for people to see themselves in biblical roles?
Yeah, I think it's important because people want to see a representation of an experience that they can connect with in their own lives. So to see themselves aspiring to a higher level, so to speak, of a person that looks like them, you know, something that they can strive to become themselves, and it makes their experience more relevant.
Right.
You know, and for other people to see that too, it's kind of an affirmation, really. Yeah.
I like the way that you said that. It makes them more relevant, you know. I mean, even someone said to me that, you know, why am I doing, or it's a waste of time to do this, to put this art in Sacier because it's too isolated, is what he said. And honestly, it took me a while to figure out what he meant by that, because I was like, well, there are 10,000 people there, right, and many churches, you know, and the artwork is for them. So how could it be, you know, a waste of time? But no, it isn't. It's relevant to them, and they want it. They want to see these pictures, you know, and to have pride about this. So, you know, I think it's completely relevant, and I'm happy to help them with that. You know?
Yeah, this is an exciting and important project. So
Thank you.
So
this is actually an example of the 14 stations that I would be doing for Sacier in Haiti. I painted this a few years ago after I did a version of the 14 stations for a church in Los Angeles. You know, it was 14 pictures, but I had more ideas, and I thought I would like to do it again. I'd like to do another 14 stations. So I did this, and I figured that maybe at some point I would be able to do individual paintings for an actual church. This is one of my favorite images. It's called A Sermon for Our Ancestors, and it kind of brings together the Ethiopian style with the secular style, in that it's the Sermon on the Mount from the Bible, from Matthew, but the pictures are illustrating scenes from slavery. And I wanted to do a sermon on the Mount, and when I started to read the different verses, it just put me in the mind of slaves. You know, the first one says, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." And, you know, the poor in spirit, you know, where do you get more poor spirit than someone who would sit on a boat and just die, you know? So I was commissioned to illustrate 20 pictures for a new children's book called Anna Carries Water. It was written by Jamaican-Canadian writer Olive Senior, who is quite famous in her own right. And when I first got the story, it's like, okay, 5 to 7-year-olds. It was, you know, it wasn't very challenging intellectually. But as I went along with it, I realized the underlying theme of water, and you know, how difficult it is for people to get their water, actually having to go and get their water every day. And, you know, it's a very big problem all over the world. So I'm hoping that with this book, to have a beautiful children's book, but also to be able to go out and to talk to people, and children in particular, about, you know, water issues, and, you know, that we shouldn't take it for granted that we're able to turn on the faucet and drink water, whereas people have to go and, you know, go to the spring and get their water. And this is a problem for a lot of people. Well, this is actually the cover image, this half. So this is Anna, and she actually just got the water on her head just for a few seconds before it falls off. But, you know, her brothers and sisters are waiting for her. She's the youngest child, so she's not able to carry water on her head yet. But by the end of the book, surprise, surprise, she's able to carry water. And the story is set in Jamaica, so I was happy to get the Jamaican flag in there. And I'm very proud of the book. It will be available July 15th, so get yourself a copy.
This is beautiful. This is definitely beautiful. And what's that you got right there? Let's take a quick shot of that.
This?
Yeah.
This is the image of gold and the fiery furnace, which is the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And it's just another stories girl. I just like to paint stories.
It's one of my favorite stories, actually.
Is it?
Yeah. It's really awesome. All right. Well, thank you, Laura,
Well, thank you
for everything that you do. Once again, Laura James, Fine Art.